In this video, I'm going to share with you guys a short hack that takes like 5 minutes to implement, and it's allowed me to scale 3 separate companies to multi-seven figures at 24 years old while actually enjoying my life. And it's called something known as dopamine loading. Now, I've actually been using this for a long time without even really realizing it. But what I'm going to do for you guys today is break this down into actionable, simple steps that you can take advantage of immediately and start seeing results instantly. Now, if you watch to the end of this video, I guarantee that you're going to be able to make more money. You're going to be able to make more money faster. And most importantly, you're going to be able to do it while actually enjoying your life. All right, so I got my iPad out here, and this is going to be a visual representation of what dopamine loading is, how it works, and how to take advantage of it. Now, I want to be clear with something right off the bat. This is not me telling you to go into monk mode. I don't do monk mode. I go on my phone every day. I drink beers on the weekends, like literally almost every single weekend with my friends. I'm either golfing or at the bar drinking beers. I do all of the degenerate activities that most 24-year-olds, I believe, should do because it makes life a lot more fun when you're a degenerate. So it isn't about cutting those out. What this is about is how to make the hard work that you need to do in order to grow your business as fun as going out and drinking beers with your buddies. Let me break down, first of all, what a normal day in the life looks like for most of us and why it is so hard for us to scale our business. And really what this is, and the reason why, is because the way our relationship with dopamine has caused it in such that it works against us when we're trying to do the hard work. It makes doing the hard work so miserable because it's like this brute force that's just pulling you away. So first thing right off the bat, we have just a little breakdown here. This is a morning, this is night, this is how much dopamine, and this is the day. So picture this is like 7 a.m., that at like 10 p.m. or whenever you go to bed. Okay, so here's what most of us do when we wake up in the morning. We wake up in the morning, and the first thing that we do is we check our phone. We go on Instagram, we go on TikTok, and what do we see? We see a bunch of half-naked women dancing on TikTok, right? Now, after we do that, we like a few photos, whatever the case may be is, then it's like, okay, now I actually got to get my shit together. I got to, have a shower and get started with the day. And then what happens is then we sit down at our desk and we see a bunch of Slack messages from our clients, or we see a bunch of our team complaining, or we see this, big project that we have to work on. And when you compare building a project or meeting with a client to watching half-naked girls dance on TikTok, like it's the most boring and miserable and just lifeless thing in the world. It absolutely sucks, right? Not because doing the hard work sucks, but because our brain is now comparing this work to what it knows it could be doing, which is watching half-naked girls on TikTok, if you're into that. The problem is here, so you wake up, boom, half-naked girls on TikTok, right? And then boom, you have to get to work, and the work sucks. But you stifle through it. Maybe you go on your phone a little bit, maybe there's a little spike there, right? And then what happens is like, okay, now you're hungry, and so you go for lunch or you go for breakfast. And what a lot of us do is we eat heavy carbohydrate meals. And most of us know at this point that carbs are another great source of dopamine for our brain, right? And so boom, another spike again, right? And then we try to get back to work, but then we can't even take it anymore because work sucks so much. So we go on our phone again and we get a little bit of dopamine. And then what happens? This is the biggest takeaway. This is the biggest cause of why it's so hard to get the work done. It's because our brain now understands that whenever it is not working, it gets a lot of dopamine. So fundamentally, our brain does not want to work, and that is why it is so hard to get the work done. Now, what dopamine loading looks like, it is not by any means cutting all of that stuff out. What it is just restructuring your day so your brain gets more and more rewards as the day goes on. So instead of waking up and scrolling TikTok, what I do now is I wake up and I just don't go on my phone. I only check Slack. Now, what I have done personally is I have these time blocker apps, so I'm not allowed to go on Instagram and all that kind of stuff until about 4 to 5 p.m. So what happens is when I wake up, there's no real dopamine in my mind, right? There is no big dopamine spike. My dopamine is baseline, and then I get to work. Right? And when I am comparing this project, now I have to do this project at work, it actually seems kind of fun because I can be creative. I can make a YouTube video. I can make an ad. I can work with a client. I get to solve people's problems. I get to do all these really fun and cool things, which seem really fun and cool to me because my brain isn't comparing it to watching half-naked women on TikTok. Makes sense, right? And then I go throughout the day. Another thing that I will do is I don't actually eat a whole lot until about noon, right? And when I do eat, I just have a little bit of protein or have a little bit of fruit. I don't have any carbohydrate meals, right? So when once again, my brain is like, okay, literally the most fun thing to do right now is to actually build this project. It's to create content like this. It's to do all these fun and amazing things and to build these amazing companies, right? Because it's not comparing it to TikTok and it's not comparing it to all of these brain rot things. But then here's the kicker. Here's the other thing that my brain knows and my brain has been taught, that I go through this, right? And then what I also do is at about 4, 5, 6 p.m., that's when I get my workout in. Now, here's another thing that I used to do, which did not work. I used to also think that these natural form of dopamine, like cold showers and like early morning workouts and all that kind of stuff, what we have been told is a good source of dopamine. Well, guess what? When you wake up in the morning like I used to, and you take a cold shower and you go for a run and you're flooded with endorphins and you're flooded with dopamine, guess what? When you then go sit back down at your desk, natural or unnatural dopamine, your brain's still going, damn, those cold showers and that workout gave me so much more energy and was so much more fun than this project, right? And even though you might be healthier with your morning routine, right, it doesn't actually help you get any of the work done, right? And so that's why now when I wake up, I grab a cup of coffee, I sit down here and I get to work, right? And to me at that time, because my brain has been rewired, because I flip this, it is the most fun thing to do, right? And then what I do is I work all day, and then about 4 to 5 p.m., I go to the gym. And then after the gym, I come home and I watch Netflix and I go on Instagram and I hang out with my friends and I drink beers and I do all the fun things that we do, right? Now, the only caveat, the only thing that I have to have just the slightest amount of discipline to keep this alive is I do my absolute best. And I'm not perfect with this by any means, but I do my absolute best to try and stop doing that for about 30 to an hour before bed. So when I go to sleep, I A, can actually go to sleep, right? And then B, it kind of resets it for the next day. Because the other problem that we have is when we're spiking our dopamine all the way until we go to bed, then we lie there and it's like impossible to fall asleep, right? So many of us have been there before where we just can't sleep. We had a big day, we did a bunch of things, we hung out with our friends, we're on social media, like all this kind of stuff. And then it's like impossible to fall asleep and you lie there and you toss and you turn and all this bad stuff. And then you don't sleep as good. And then you wake up in the morning and you're tired and you get more dopamine. And it's just this endless cycle, which makes it so hard to grow a business. But when you limit it in the first half of the day, and literally all you have to do is just like not go on your phone and just like change what you're eating for lunch. When you just don't do those two things, which is like in reality, pretty easy thing to do when the result is like you make millions of dollars with a business, right? Your brain is like, these projects, this work is the most fun thing I have. And then it also knows if I just get through this to the day and I get all this stuff done, then I can have as much dopamine as I could possibly ever desire towards the end of the day. I can get fulfilled. I can actually enjoy my life. And then I just wind down a little bit before I go to bed. That here right there is how I began to take advantage of what is known as dopamine loading to scale 3 separate businesses to multi 7 figures per year, and then actually still enjoy my life every single weekend. I'm golfing with the boys. I go out with the boys. I hang out with my girlfriend, all this great stuff. Okay. So take advantage of this. Start implementing this immediately. I guarantee that you'll make more money. You'll make it faster and you'll actually begin to enjoy your life a lot more in the process. Now, if you want to work with me to help me rewire your dopamine receptors and then scale your company, first link in the bio and you'll be able to do exactly that. Other than that, if you have any questions about this, leave a comment below and I'll see you guys in the next video.